Two is a recommendation and request from the Sheriff's Office for approval of a number of expenditures related to first responders training exercise that would be funded out of existing appropriations in the Sheriff's Department.
Okay. Supervisor Carson.
I have a couple of questions, and maybe a request if the board will consider it. You know, I know that the Urban Shield program is supposed to be one that helps to prepare us in case of a disaster and a catastrophe, and we've had major disasters and catastrophes in Alameda County, an earthquake, a major fire, and this gives the law enforcement now, which includes community-based groups. It includes fire. It includes a kind of a more coordinated approach to preparing our community in case we have some kind of a disaster. And I know that this has been a contentious issue year in and year out since we've been hosting the Urban Shield exercises. In what is being requested today in item 72, speaking as one board member, A, B, C, D, and E, I have much less of an issue with. I do have an issue with F, personally, on this item. And the reason is because of the potential procurement contract with Strategic Operations Incorporated. I know that there's been times I brought up, and I know that the board has entertained the issue regarding these exercises that might border on stereotyping different ethnicities within our community as they go through the various exercises. I've witnessed a number of the exercises over the years in which the efforts to deal with potential terrorists or the potential collapse of infrastructure, which makes and puts chaos in our community, and how the responders have prepared themselves and responded to it. And I know that there is a lot of value in terms of having these scenarios and having people go through them in a way that prepares them for a natural disaster, a catastrophe that might happen, and hopefully if there is a terrorist activity, that they'll be prepared for that, but in a way that a lot of communities are concerned, and raising that concern that a lot of the preparation borders on urban control of communities. So I know that when we were considering the January 6th letter, that there was supposed to be real consideration in terms of the vendors that are being used or contracted with to not use imagery that stereotypes and profiles particular ethnic groups and racial groups. I was wondering what was vetted or what took place as you went through making the decision around the contract with Strategic Operations Incorporated.
Supervisor Carson, just to clarify, what Strategic Operations is being utilized for is for Moulin Rouge or makeup to imitate trauma to potential victims. They also provide role players and some pyrotechnics. That is the only thing that we use them for. There is no other company that provides those services, those free services, and is willing to stay on site. They've got licensed folks that will stay on site during the 48-hour duration of the exercise. So that is the reason we requested a sole source, because that's the only company that we could locate that will provide those services.
So in the process of going through that, did you do some intelligence gathering in terms of checking out on their website and those things? Because as early as, or since I wasn't able to do as much due diligence as I normally try to do in terms of preparing myself for today's board meeting, it was this morning about 6:15 I was online and I saw the imagery that is on their website. I wasn't personally happy with it. It was contrary to my personal beliefs, and I thought that it reflected pretty badly in terms of isolating and using stereotypes. That I don't think that this county should be supporting. I know I don't support, and I don't think that the county should be supporting. I don't know if people did their due diligence and they saw that, but that was pretty disturbing to me personally.
Yes, I personally did not go to the website until this morning when I was notified of the concerns. But as far as the folks that did work on that, I don't have any personal knowledge as to whether or not they're aware of those images.
Just to add on to that, yeah, I have these images here. So you're saying that the contract is not going to utilize these figures for training?
Absolutely not. We don't use those, excuse me, we don't use those images for any type of training.
Assistant Sheriff, it was January 10th that the board took action to create the task force on Urban Shield, and it was that same day that the sheriff himself submitted a letter to us dated January 6th, and two items that he included in his letter, 2 points under the bullet points on page 2 of 3. The first was Urban Shield will be free from racist stereotyping, and then farther down, Urban Shield will exclude any and all vendors who display derogatory or racist messages in any form. So what I'm grappling with is when I went to the website of this particular vendor, there were derogatory racist messages in the form of images on their website. And that was really clear, which one's counter to the sheriff's letter. And that's what I'm wrestling with.
Sure, I understand. I understand the concerns in regarding those bullet agreements that the sheriff made during that meeting. We hold to that. We do not identify any suspects in Urban Shield scenarios by race or religion. We do not utilize any of that imagery or mannequins, if you will. And again, this company is utilized for a specific purpose unrelated to those images.
But what I'm grappling with is, in the sheriff's own words, exclude any and all vendors. And that's my issue.
I understand.
So this is a vendor that clearly displays, in my opinion, racist messages.
Just for clarification, I think that was a result of some products that were displayed at the vendor show that were offensive. This company would not be displaying anything at the vendor show.
I understand. But they are nonetheless a vendor that does do that on their website. And that's my issue.
Okay, we have one speaker, and then I would suggest that we take a separate vote on F. We'll do A, B, C, D, E, and take a separate vote on F. Tracy Rosenberg.
Yes, good afternoon. Tracy Rosenberg from Media Alliance, and thank you for taking up this issue. I don't know if I'm the only person that happened to look at Strategic Operations website yesterday after your agenda came out, but I am one of the people, certainly, that did so. I just want to address a couple of things, which is the statement from your Sheriff's Department that Strategic Operations was the only vendor that could deliver the service, which was described as hyper-realistic training, which their website defines as a high degree of fidelity in the replication of battlefield conditions in a training environment that participants so willingly suspend disbelief that they become totally immersed. And they mentioned that their expertise to do this was an understanding of an expertise in military tactics, techniques, and procedures. So apart from the silliness of things like live target ammunition with these kinds of images that start off with choose a skin tone, and if you'll notice the choose a skin tone goes from light brown to dark brown to black. There's no other choice. But, you know, apart from that sort of blatant racism, what we also have going on here is really sending our funds, our county funds, to a company that is essentially engaging in battlefield immersion training. And we talk about police militarization, and I've heard the sheriff say that language is overstated or that language is melodramatic, but obviously it's not. That's what we're ordering. And we're ordering it from a vendor who is inoculating law enforcement and military in blatantly racist stereotypes, and we should stop doing it. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, I wanted to take a motion on A to E and then F separately, if possible.
The motion is for what?
For A to, I haven't made it, but A to E, if someone would make a
I'll
motion.
move that.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor? 5 ayes. Then on F.
I just want to make a comment, if I could, before we vote on this, that it was clear that the stipulation by the board was that this was going to be a guiding principle in terms of funding for these companies. And that was one of the requirements that we stipulated as a board. And that's why I'm going to vote against F.
Okay. Does anyone want to make a motion on F? Okay, it fails for lack of motion, right? What county council, right? If there's no motion.
Yeah, we need a motion to take an action.
Yeah, okay.
Can I just ask you, so if you don't have this vendor, you just won't have the makeup? Is that it?
There are other companies that we could have the makeup done. There just aren't other companies that will be able to do everything that they would be doing, including supplying role players. That company is being utilized. The scenario that we had intended to utilize them is a recreation of the nightclub shooting in Orlando that took place last year. So they were doing a lot of the makeup for the trauma-inflicted folks there.
How important is that to the exercise?
It makes it very realistic, not only for police, but also for the medics and the EMS and the doctors that work those scenes. It's important to the exercise.
Okay. I think we're finished with that item. Item 74.